All right. So this is our first information session for the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency in 2024. Thank you to our incredible audience on the call, which for right now is just Miss Katie. Welcome. And for everyone else who's watching on YouTube and on our website later, this is just kind of an overview of who we are as an organization, Terradise Nature Center, what our Terradise Environmental Arts Residency is and some of its history, and then a little bit about the application, the process, the experience. And then the second half of this meeting is really going to be a walkthrough of the application itself. It's a digital application, and we know for some applicants that can seem, I don't know why my hat is appearing and disappearing, that can be a little bit intimidating. So we're going to walk through the process and share a lot of tips about what makes for a really good application. I was just talking with our board and some of our selection committee about this. We do have a really clear rubric we use to help score our applicants on different areas. So when we ask you to answer questions in particular ways or cover these certain things, we really do mean it, because that's often tied to our scoring criteria. And if we don't have an answer on one of the things we ask for, it makes it harder for us to compare your application to someone else's and understand what you bring to the table. So I'm just going to start off our slide presentation by sharing a little bit about Terradise Nature Center. So for those who don't know of us, and this year we are working with artists as well as our normal group of artists in Marion and Morrow County that we've served for the past 2 years. We are reaching out to artists in Wyandotte and Crawford County as well, and they are able to apply. So you may not know about Terradise Nature Center. We are a five-ish, six-ish acre nature preserve along the Whetstone River. It's formerly the Olentangy River, but locally in Caledonia and Marion County, it's called the Whetstone. And we're right outside of Caledonia in eastern Marion County. We are different than the Terradise Nature Preserve, which is across the river and is managed by the Marion County Parks District. We do have a shared history. All 18 acres of the land was together called, I might take this off, it's really flashing. Terradise was called Terradise and was the homestead of Trella and Ray Romine. They were conservationists, local historians, artists, and naturalists who built their home along this bend of the Whetstone River in 1953. I'll talk a little bit more about them in a minute. After Trella Romine passed away, Terradise Nature Center became a 501c3 nonprofit founded by her son, David, whose goal was really to open the property for the enjoyment of the community and also to further Trella and Ray's legacy, really connecting environment, conservation, and also a love of art and history. Our formal mission is to inform our communities about their our cultural and natural heritages. So we really are unique in that we bring together focusing on culture and history and natural history and environment and conservation. As a nature center, we are open dawn to dusk, 365 days out of the year. So you can come. We've got a beautiful trail. We have a stage by the pond, vernal pools right along the river. And we also have a number of arts, environment, and heritage programs. So historically, the land where Terradise is located was really important to Indigenous communities. It was right along the Kokosing Owl Creek Trail that ran towards Mount Vernon. The Kokosing River is there, and also was used as a community fishing hole by settlers in Marion County for a long time. And it was purchased by Trella and Ray in 1952. Trella Romine, who ran Hemmerly's Flower Shop that her parents founded, had a dream of having a house, quote, on a hill by a river in the woods, and Terradise fulfilled that. And the name Terradise is actually something that Ray Romine, pictured right here with the hat, came up with. He was Marion County's postman poet. He was a postal worker, and he wrote over almost 3,000 little poems that he called light verse over the course of his career. He passed away tragically very soon after Trella and Ray moved to Terradise. But he coined the phrase Terradise to mean heaven on earth. And this was a very beautiful patch of land that was really special for them. Trella and Ray were both naturalists. Trella obviously was a florist and grew up picking prairie flowers with her parents for Hemmerly's Flowers. And Ray actually hybridized irises. So he too grew a lot of things. And instead of a diamond ring, Ray built Trella a greenhouse at Terradise. So it's really a beautiful story of naturalists and finding their home. And Terradise itself kickstarted many important movements in Marion County and in the wider North Central Ohio region. Trella co-founded the Marion County Historical Society with a group of others in 1969, and she was very involved in kickstarting the Sandusky Plains conservation movement, which was a movement to conserve, well, to identify and to conserve and reseed the local prairies. There was historically a really big set of prairies called the Sandusky Plains that covered most of Marion County and southern Crawford and Wyandotte County and a little tiny bit of Morrow County. And that was a big part of her campaign, was to protect those prairies, including a lot of them that survived along the railways, like the Clarendon Prairie outside of Caledonia. There's actually more on that on our website. If you go to terradise.org and look under exhibit, Caledonia Conservationists is our new exhibit that just launched this summer, and it tells that story. But we just want people to have a little bit of a backstory. All nature centers are special and have a story, but ours has a lot of art and culture in the mix as well. Here's an image of Ray back in the day in the 40s or 50s and some of his butterfly collections. He also collected butterflies and moths. A lot of his collections are actually at the Ohio History Center, Ohio History Connection down in Columbus. And he is still quoted in a lot of journals for being a very important collector of butterflies and moths. Here's Trella and Ray in their younger days at Terradise with a lot of the iris that Ray helped hybridize, and some of Trella's family here, including David, who founded Terradise Nature Center as a baby, and his sister Kathy. So some of the beautiful landscape. The house is still there now, and we rent it for overnight experiences via Airbnb and Vrbo. So that's part of our program's offerings to the community. And here's Trella as a local historian. She helped get a lot of these Ohio historical markers erected around the community, as well as published a column called The Day Before Yesterday and several collections of books that were very important for Marion County history. And here is her with some key figures in the Sandusky Plains Prairie Movement. There's lots more about that, along with interviews with Larry Yoder of the Marion Campus Prairie and Gail Martin Grau, who owns Natives in Harmony, a native plant nursery, and was sort of an apprentice of Trella on our website. So about us now, Terradise Nature Center, we do a lot of different programs in a couple of different buckets. We do environmental education and conservation programming, including K-12 work with young people, bringing them to Terradise or going into the schools. Some of those programs have been on pause since COVID, but we're really excited to relaunch those in the soon future. We also do hands-on conservation programs for adults, opportunities to come and volunteer with us, like working on our annual prairie cleanup to get an idea of how to be a part of conservation movements and activities. Like I mentioned earlier, we rent out our Airbnb, our Romine residence on Airbnb or Vrbo, and also for board meetings. So that's a chance for families, individuals, other nonprofits to really get to know what we do and get to know the property through staying on site. We also do a lot of projects around the legacy of Terradise. All of Trella Romine and Ray Romine's diary entries are being digitized by David Haldeman, our archivist, and are on our project website. And one of our biggest program suites right now is Arts at Terradise. And that includes the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency that we're talking about tonight, and also Tunes at Terradise, which is an outdoor plein air concert series on our new pond stage that is held in August. And our biggest project we're working on to support all of these programs is a Frank Lloyd Wright style interpretive center that's going to be next to our current house on the banks of the Olentangy or Whetstone River. And we're hoping to begin construction for that within the next couple of years. And we'll be fundraising for it. So stay tuned for more. All right. So now this is what everyone has come to hear, right? What is the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency? Some of you watching this may be past applicants who have applied in the past and know a little bit about it. So you want to stay tuned for what has changed. And some of you have no idea what this is, just found out from a flyer at the post office or your library. So I'll try to cover all the bases and nobody will get bored, I hope. So the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency is a paid artist residency. It is for artists in any genre, more on that in a second, living in, working in, or from. So you don't necessarily have to live or work here now. In Marion County, Morrow County, and new this year, Wyandotte and Crawford counties. For the past 2 years, we have been only open to artists in Marion and Morrow County, and we are expanding that this year. Why? Those 4 counties are the historic home of the Sandusky Plains Prairie. And we really thought this was a great opportunity to bring together artists from across communities who might not know each other. We traditionally have between 2 and 3 artists in residence a month. While they don't explicitly have to collaborate, the final event brings those artists together. And the more communities we bring together, I think the more that gets made possible through this program. So it's a non-residential artist residency. Some artist residencies, they say, come stay at our beautiful property. You get a cabin and you live here for a month. And oh, it costs like $4,000. And we bring you lunch in a basket. Some of the real fancy ones up in New England are like that. And that's totally fine too. But what's cool about our residency is it's meant for working artists, largely living in North Central Ohio, unless you're one of those special ones who has roots in North Central Ohio and went somewhere else. And we really want to reach out, for example, to our indigenous communities who are from this part of Ohio, traditionally and ancestrally, at least in the 17th and 18th centuries, but were displaced to Oklahoma, to Kansas, to Canada and other communities. So it's not a strict rule that artists have to be here, but we don't provide housing, and we really want to provide that opportunity flexibly for artists who are living and working in the community. So instead of having to stay here forever, you just have to visit Terradise 3 times during your residency month, which should be fairly easy. It can be at any time that you pick. You don't have to schedule with me or our board. You can just show up when you want. And for your residency, we want you to pitch us a project, a particular project with a focus to create new artwork in your genre during your residency. And it's got to be somehow inspired by our property, our history, our mission, or a legacy. So tied to the environment in some way. And artists interpret that in different ways. Some of them use material like leaves and plants from the property and paint with those or incorporate them into traditions. Other people are inspired by the history of the river, or other people are just looking for a chance to be in nature because that's healing and relaxing, and then producing personal work based on that experience. So it doesn't have to be that your work is environmental and activist for the environment in the way that Trello Romine's conservation work was, right? It just needs to engage our property in some way. And the more that you have a clear idea in your application, the higher you're going to score. We've been doing this for 3 years now. We've had 2 really successful selection committee meetings, and I can definitely say the more clear of an idea you have, the better your application is going to be. So that's why we're having not only these information sessions, but also about 7 hours of office hours where I'm just sitting on a Zoom, and I'm happy to talk with you about your ideas, read through your application with you, help you with anything. And I'm also bookable for a limited number of by request, first come, first serve technical assistance hours. So if you need help with writing parts of your application, you want me to look through something with you, help take pictures of your work or find your work samples, I can help you with that. You just have to ask early. So part of your residency is going to be creating original work. And then the big part of it is you're going to do a public program. You're going to collaborate with the other artists who are part of your month. And together, you're each going to offer an hour of programming, and there's going to be a larger program. Usually it's 2 hours. And that will be a big event. It's usually on a Saturday or Sunday in the afternoon at the end of your month. So if you're in the month of May, it'll probably be like the last weekend of May or maybe the first weekend of June. We'll find a time that works for everyone. And your event can be a talk, a workshop, a performance, a demonstration. If you're a poet or a writer, it can be a reading. It could be an activity, you name it. So I know Miss Katie's on the call right now. And like many of you artists out there, is a multi-genre artist. She works in foodways. She works in traditional hair arts. And she also is a singer and someone who does crochet and fiber arts and all sorts of craftiness. So Miss Katie, you will have a hard choice ahead in terms of which of your genres you want to propose for the residency. And it could be multiple too. It just all depends on how you propose it. What's in it for you besides the opportunity to visit a beautiful place and have an audience and create original work? All of our artists get a stipend of $1,000 to support you across the term of your month. You get that at the end after your program is complete. And we will have 8 slots available in 2024. And we will have artists during the months of March, April, May, and June. We also have 2 additional slots available for what we're calling our emerging artist residency. Those are artists who either this year or in past years didn't quite make the cut to the residency, but have really, really promising work and maybe just struggled more with the application. And these are artists who have not had the opportunity to have a paid residency like this just to focus on creating their own work in new directions. Maybe they've been focused on teaching or community work or other things. Um, they're not necessarily brand new at art, despite it saying emerging. They may be younger artists, they may be retired folks, but it's really focused on artists who haven't had the opportunity. So altogether, there's actually going to be 12 slots. Two of them are going to be reserved for artists who are past residents that we're going to bring back as alumni for a more engaged program. But at least 8 brand new artists in the full program, and the emerging program will have a slightly lower stipend and different expectations and be a more of a mentored experience. So about our Terradise Environmental Arts residency, like I said, we are open to artists in all genres, and we really, really mean that. I am a folklorist by training, and alongside my work with this Terradise Environmental Arts residency, I run a nonprofit called Marian Voices, Folklife and Oral History, which I co-founded with the amazing educator and organizer Johnny Jackson in Marion. And we are a folk and cultural arts organization, and we honor traditional folk arts and culture as it exists within cultural communities. So, being a folklorist myself, I cannot limit any residency to just fine arts. So, we are open to fine arts, folk and traditional arts, performance arts, music, creative writing, traditional outdoor arts, wood carving, foodways, you name it. We have had artists who are everything from herbalists who do workshops on making salves or tinctures or foraging plants to outdoor fly fishermen to musicians like LaCosta Mays, who's pictured here, to acrylic painters and oil painters, sculptors. Really, it runs the gamut. We have not had any theatrical performances or any dancers, so we'd really love to see some movement and some theater in the mix as well. And we have had a couple of artists apply with foodways projects who did not make the cut in past years, but we really want to encourage foodways artists as well, since there's all sorts of different genres we haven't been able to showcase for our audience. We are especially open to artists and seeking artists from marginalized backgrounds and communities who haven't had the chance to have a paid or supported artist residency producing original work. What we mean by that is some of you on this call or listening may be teaching artists. You may have folks you have trained. You may work with kids and young people in your community, but maybe you're busy working and you don't have the chance to just say, what's next for me as an artist in my practice? What is my learning edge? And we really want these residencies to provide people with a paid chance to say, okay, maybe I can like take a little bit of time off my job or not have to work that other job on the weekends, and I can just make art for me and follow my soul. We really want to give that opportunity to artists in the 4 counties we're serving: Marion, Morrow, Wyandotte, and Crawford. And when we say we're seeking artists from marginalized backgrounds, we're open to all artists, but especially artists with positionalities and identities that have been oppressed in our society and in our world, including artists of color, artists who might be immigrants or speak English as a second or third language, artists who might be queer or transgender, artists with disabilities, and many others who have gone through more difficult experiences in life and have not had this opportunity. We want you to know that you're welcome at this residency, and we really do want to provide that opportunity. Our Terradise Environmental Arts residency, to our knowledge, is not only the only artist residency in all of North Central Ohio. Maybe there's something in Mansfield, maybe, I'm not sure. But we're the only paid artist residency that we know about, and we pay artists really well. We're super proud of that. And our program is really generously supported by an Arts Next grant from the Ohio Arts Council. So we really just want to thank the Ohio Arts Council for making this possible. They're great supporters of the arts in Ohio. So by the numbers, just a little bit of impact, since this is our 3rd year looking back on our residency, the Terradise Environmental Arts residency has served 24 artists with paid residency, performance, presentation, and artist talks opportunities since we started in 2022. 24 artists, and we've infused over $25,000 into the local arts economy through our paid opportunities for innovation, research, creation, and public presentation, where that did not exist before. So we're really proud of the impact we're having, and we really invite all of you on the call and watching this call later to be a part of that story. We are unique in our sector. There are very few other nature centers that even offer artist residencies. There's two that I know of in Ohio, at nature centers or plant preserves, things like that, nature preserves, but those are all unpaid, and some of them you actually have to pay to go there and be a part of it. And unlike other highly competitive national artist residencies where folks from California, New York, all over, people with MFA degrees in the arts are all fighting for these residencies, our program is really geared towards working community artists. And we really want to focus on artists working in and already living in North Central Ohio, except some of those other categories we mentioned. If you're from here and moved away, or you're an Indigenous person with roots here, we want to welcome you and invite you as well. But there's not a lot of opportunities that are protected for folks from this part of Ohio. And that's one of the things that makes our program special. So here's a little bit of last year's residencies in pictures. Over here is Fiora Sonashi Gates, an amazing artist from Marion, making her own unique art style called Doodlescapes, where she takes mixed media, puts it on acrylic paintings, and then draws with Sharpie over it. Over here is a community workshop led by Pamela Andegood, who's a calligraphy artist. It's called Weathergrams, and this is some of our audience here, as well as artists in residence, Leah Lee and Ann Quilter, who are artists in other months. This is P. Brown, who did an artist talk and created a custom sculpture with rice paper butterflies you'll see in a bit, as well as Pamela Andegood's special calligraphy that she made interpreting a poem by Ray Romine. And by the way, all of our archives are open to any of our artists in residence. If you'd like to consult those while you're preparing your application or during your month in residence, Pam DeGood looked through a lot of the poems of Ray Romine and was inspired by that and rendered them in calligraphy, which is her art form. And we love to see that sort of connection. Here's Stephanie Spears, who is an herbalist with deep roots in Appalachia and led us on a workshop to forage plantain and then make some vinegar tinctures out of it around the property. And here is her artist talk as well, and some foraging we did with Fiora. Here's Ann Quilter and some of the acrylics she made. This is a March residency, so the crocuses are just coming up. And Brittany Page Hall, who made these topographic style abstract oil paintings of changes in the Whetstone River over time, which is awesome. We also have a lot of music performances. So here is Z Wolf, who is an ambient and electronic music performer who did a sort of very, very special live improvised performance using and kind of treating electroacoustically the sounds from Terradise as he worked with them with synthesizers. And Jacob Michael Holler here created original sculptures and installed them across the landscape, which is really neat. Leah Lee did eco dyeing and printing, so using natural materials to dye paper, cloth, and Quentin Veach as well is a songwriter in our community who was able to do a songwriting showcase, which was really fun. And here's P. Brown's amazing rice paper butterflies, actually based on the archives and collection of Ray Romine, which is really cool. And here is another artist, Jeff Nagel, who did photography and then digital painting of different sites around the Terradise property. That was just last year. We've got more pictures to come from 2022, our first year. So a little bit more about our residency, and then we will walk through the application. So the main way you apply is online. It is much easier to apply online. If you really don't want to, or it's really difficult for you, we do have a PDF and a paper application you can mail in. A lot of people we know don't use computers, don't have internet, are not able to watch this Zoom video, and that's totally fine. We want to be accessible to you as well. If you can apply online, it's easier because you can simply upload the files. If you're a singer, if you're a crochet artist like Miss Katie, you can just upload the photos of your work directly to your application. Whereas if you apply by mail, you've got to figure out printing those photos, or if you're a musician, burning them to a CD or a cassette. And then we have to worry about, can we listen to those? And how do we get that to 7 people, 8 people on our committee? It gets more difficult on our end. So we do ask everyone to apply online if you can. If it's not an option, we do have the paper applications available. We have flyers and some paper copies of our mail-in application at almost every post office in Marion, Morrow, Wyandotte, and Crawford County. I know because myself and some of my family members spent a lot of time on Sunday putting those around. A couple of them were locked. They do not have 24-hour lobbies. So we were not able to get in, but most of the post office, basically it's somewhere in your county, in every county, there will be something at the post office. Marion's a little difficult because they don't have any community bulletin boards at the big post office, but all the smaller communities in the villages, if your post office was open on a Sunday, there should be something there. What does the application require? There's a couple of core parts, and don't worry about it too much because we'll walk through it when we shift over to the website. The application requires your basic artist information, which is kind of like who are you, your name, your genres. Demographics are optional. That's one page of the application. So that's like if you want to tell us what is your gender or genders, what is your ethnicity or ethnicities, what is your age? Are there any disabilities you have that you want to make us aware of that you might need accommodations around? Things like that. And that's entirely optional. We love that information if you want to provide it because it gives us a fuller sense of who you are as a person. But for some people, they don't want to share that or don't feel like it's relevant to their practice. So it's totally up to you. Then there's like 3 or 4 core narratives. One of them is the artist statement. That's really a concise statement of kind of your philosophy as an artist. Where are you at right now? What are you trying to do as an artist? Your residency vision. That's really what is your project? What are you doing in residence with Terradise? What do you want to make? And what is the final event? The residency purpose is kind of the opposite. If the vision is the what, the purpose is the why. The purpose is why would it be good for you right now as the artist you are to have this residency? Or why would it be good for you in 2024, right? To have this residency and have this focused chance to push your art to the next level. We really want to know why that matters. And in that question, we also ask you to share a little bit about your relationship with nature in the outdoors. Some people have a long, strong, and proud relationship with nature. And some people, because of their identity and positionality in the world we live in, it hasn't been safe or there hasn't been access to natural spaces. So maybe for some of you who are applying, this is going to be your first time to have a protected experience engaging with the rivers and the woods. So we just want to know what that looks like for you. So that's the residency purpose. Then there's a short biography. I think it's like 250 words. We'll look at it in a minute. And I'm going to drink water. I work in the schools as a teaching artist and have a mask on all day because a lot of the kids are sick. So I can only drink water really before and after school. So I'm catching up for a long day of no water. And then we ask for, a short biography, which is just who are you? What's your life story in 250 words, a little bit about your art practice, your career, and we'll use those to help market you. If you get into this residency program, we'll put out emails with a photo of you and sharing more about your work. So we'll use that directly. We want that to come from you because you know your own life story best. And then work samples, which is probably one of the most important parts. Do not submit work samples. Every year we have artists who are incredible. Some of us may know you and know you're incredible, but you don't submit work samples or haven't figured out the system or didn't leave enough time to ask me to help. And that's killer in an application process because the work samples are really the way we can see your work. So if you're a visual artist, that's 5 photos of your work. If you're a musician, it might be 5 audio clips or links to 5 YouTube videos or 5 pieces on your SoundCloud. Or maybe a combination. If you're someone like Miss Katie on this call now, who's both a visual artist, a foodways artist, a musician, we really want you to give a chance for our selection committee to get to know you and your work. And there's also the opportunity to describe each of these. The other thing I want to say, we tried this last year and only one of our applicants took us up on it. But she did get a residency. It was very effective. For all of these, the artist statement, the vision, the purpose, I think it's just those, maybe not the biography, the artist statement, the vision, and the purpose. You can record a video or audio instead of writing if you want. So if you want your artist statement to be like, hey, I'm Jess and I'm going to talk. I don't know if I introduced myself. I'm Jess Lamar Reeshaller, by the way. I'm the coordinator for the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency. But if you're someone who doesn't like writing or who just expresses yourself better out loud, you can record a short video. Tell us in your video what your project's going to be. Tell us in your video why this matters to you. You still need to answer all the questions in the prompt, but a lot of people really find that the video or audio responses are easier for them, allow them to really be true to who they are. And we loved it with the one applicant last year who submitted, I think she did audio. It just gives the selection committee more of a sense of who you are. And that's a plus, right? You can also do a combination. You can write a little bit and upload something. So we just wanted to let you guys know that that's an option. And there's a field right there where you can upload your video response. And for most people, I have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone or an Android, I mean, most of them have some sort of video function, right? Where you can just record a video of yourself, or I don't know what it's like on an Android, but on an iPhone, it's called voice memo, and you just press the red button and start recording a voice memo, right? And you can send that to your computer um, and upload it to the application, which is really nice and easy. You can also save your application and come back to it later, which is nice. But we really do recommend you download our PDF of the application questions first and prepare them in your choice of word processor. It might be Pages or Microsoft Word or Google Docs. Just in case you lose the link or something goes glitchy with the internet, we ask people for the longer responses to kind of prepare those offline. Otherwise, you're just sitting at the application trying to get it all in at once, which can be stressful. If you do need a paper application, you can download them from our website, which is kind of contradictory because if you needed a paper application, you probably wouldn't be on the website. But we do have those, and we got 120 of them that a print shop donated printing for that are at locations around Marion, Crawford, Wyandotte, and Morrow County. And we also have several of them on site at Terradise Nature Center. And I have them. I'm in Marion County every day and would be happy to run some to somewhere that needs them. Or if you're a library, an institution watching this, a chamber of commerce, we can email that to you if you'd be willing to make that available to your members. Applications are due February 1st at 11:59 p.m. I'll talk about this more in a bit, but February 1st is a silly date for me as the coordinator to be the due date because I myself have some really big grants that I do annually for organizations I run and schools that I work with that are due on February 1st. So we'll talk about this more in a minute, but I do just want to make clear there's help available to you. I have a lot of technical assistance I can offer you. My hours are limited, but I will not be available the week the application is due or have really limited availability. And I have a deadline myself, several big ones on February 1st. So it breaks my heart, but the folks who reach out each year at 9 o'clock on February 1st and need help, that's not a great time to get help and have someone help you think through your application questions, right? Right now it's November. Have those conversations in December. Have those conversations in January, the first 2 weeks of January, and then get your application in and all set before that deadline. That said, we do see about 85% of our applications come in, I would say, after 8 p.m. on February 1st, but that doesn't have to be stressful like that for you. And that's why I think we got our application together and our outreach out about a month and a half earlier than we did last year. The application was live November 9th. So you guys have a little time. So a couple of frequently asked questions about our residency. Is there an age limit? I would say for that, it depends. Generally, we serve artists who are out of high school, 18 and over, with no upper age limit. But that said, if there is a compelling candidate who has a really strong project and the ability to complete all the requirements, the 3 visits to Terradise Nature Center, creating an original project, or artwork, music composition, etc., inspired by Terradise, and then doing the 1-hour public event as a part of the bigger program, we'd be happy to consider you. Do you have to be living in Ohio? Again, our residency is intended for artists living in, working in, or from our 4 counties of North Central Ohio, Wyandotte, Crawford, Marion, and Morrow. But we understand that settler colonialism is very complex. There's many people, including indigenous communities like the Wyandotte people, who have been displaced from Wyandotte County and forcibly removed to Oklahoma and Kansas. And we very much welcome people with roots in North Central Ohio to come back as a part of this. We just cannot currently offer housing on site. But if you have family in the area or are willing to procure short-term housing or have plans or proposal to, for example, like camp on the property, let us know. And that's not a promise, but we'll see what we can work out. What does it mean to be from the Sandusky Plains region? Like we said, Marion County, Morrow County, Wyandotte County, Crawford County. If you are from those counties or living and working here, you're eligible. And what makes for good work samples? A lot of people ask for this. Your work samples, ideally, I did a presentation to the Mid-Ohio Fine Arts Society in Marion a few weeks ago. And one of the artists there asked, should the work samples be really closely tied to the project you propose? So if you say, hey, I'm going to do a project that's a quilting project, should your work samples be quilting work samples or should they be, could they be music work samples? I would say it's most compelling to our selection committee if your work samples show evidence of the project you want to do. But we also want to encourage artists to be experimental and to grow. So if you are a musician who wants to write a play for this, then tell us the story of how you'll do that. And maybe your previous work samples will all be music. It really depends, kind of case by case. But your work samples should represent your highest quality work. We do ask for like 5 individual files or work samples. So like it's not like one of the 5 can be a packet of 45 photos in a PDF, right? It should be like 5 photos of artwork, 5 photos of 5 different sculptures, 5 clips from 5 different music. Miss Katie, who's on this call and is a foodways artist, if you wanted to do a food project, it'd be 5 different dishes, or a recipe and a little bit of a narrative about that. So yeah, that's most of our big frequently asked questions. And these are the artists we've served in the past, just to highlight some of those genres. We've had everything from ceramics and resin work. That's Josh Groves back from February 2022, pencil drawing, fly fish tying, electronic music, memoir, herbalism, quilting, pastels, music, songwriting, painting, lots of painting last year, photography, digital painting, calligraphy, handmade stuffed animals, multimedia, sculpture, electronic music, eco printing, herbalism, doodlescapes, songwriting. So lots of things. But again, there's some genres we haven't touched yet that we'd love to see. Anyone who is doing foodways, dancing and movement work. Those are things we haven't seen. We haven't had a ton of creative writing. We haven't had any real theater or performance. We only get a handful of musicians, 1 or 2. Let me see, 1 or 2 a season. Yeah, we had 3 musicians in 2022 and 2 last year. So, those are some things we haven't had in a lot of abundance, but we're open to all genres. So there's one more of these info sessions coming up on Sunday, December 7th. We try to vary the time so that everyone is able to take part in it. That one will run from 3 to 4:30. And then I've got what I'm calling technical assistance office hours scheduled. I will be here on Zoom on this same channel on Tuesday, January 9th from 5 to 8 p.m. Just sitting, doing other Terradise work. If no one's there, talking to you if you are. And on Sunday, January 14th from 12 to 4. That is like 7 hours total. Those are times you can come and talk to me about your application. If you want to go through a draft of it, if you already have it, if you want me to help you with work samples, any of that, those are great times. And I've already committed those times. It's first come, first serve. So if Miss Katie gets the call first, we'll talk for as long as we can. If someone else comes, I'll say, maybe come back in a half an hour. And so just show up when you can. You might have to wait a little bit, depends on how many people. There might be nobody there, and you just can talk to me for 2 hours and get all the help you want. Also, by request, I can help with applications. I can't write applications for you, but I can come take pictures of your work if you struggle with how to do that. I can walk you through sections of the application and actually give you technical assistance. Like, here's how to upload this file. Here's what this looks like. I've been asked by some artists who are not on computers or internet at all, but are incredible artists. Will you come to my basement and take pictures of my sculptures and help put them into an application and help me fill it out? We can do any of that. But the important thing to note is just that it is first come, first serve, and I have a limited amount of hours. I think about 15 hours total, including those 7 hours of office hours. So the artists who ask first, do get that attention. And I will say last year we had several artists who were quite forthcoming in asking for help and had us do whole application read throughs and look at their draft. And it really helped. The artists who got that help, many of them got the residency, and those who didn't were very, very close to the cutoff. So it really does help because I'm the coordinator of the program and I know what the scoring guidelines and criteria are. And in fact, they're built directly off of what we ask in the question. So I can give you real feedback. I can't say whether you'll get the residency or not because there's 7 or 8 people on the committee who make those decisions, and we've got a fair scoring process and criteria whereby everyone is scored based on all of these different things and no one person has the power or the sway. It's really a group process, but I can tell you what's going to make a stronger application. So we really encourage all of our artists and applicants, especially anyone who is a little bit unsure about how to proceed or might have multiple ideas. Let me know and let's schedule a time. Before the holidays is great. January gets really crunched. And like I said, I run another nonprofit, and in addition to Terradise, to my role at Terradise here, I'm writing grants for this program for 2025. So always working ahead, and all of those deadlines are in the spring. So the earlier you can reach out, the better. And really the central place everyone should look for application information is right here, terradise.org/arts-residency. That's kind of the splash page for a residency where you can learn all about it. And then terradise.org/TEAR, Terradise Environmental Arts Residency -2024-application. That's the actual application itself. So what we're going to do now, I'll take questions for a few minutes. And then and so sorry, my dog's in the background and is very upset that we're doing this call at night instead of paying attention to her, but she'll be okay. You just may hear her barking a little bit unless she decides to go downstairs where she can have people who aren't me pay attention to her, but I guess that's not good enough. We will take a couple of questions, and then I'm going to actually pull up our website and walk through for any of you on the call or watching later how you can access our application and what it looks like, and we'll actually do a sample application together in about the last 30 minutes on the call. But for anyone live on the call now, which I think is just Miss Katie at the moment, do you have any questions you want to ask, or do you want me to go back to anything?
Yeah, I do, but it's a lot of noise in the background. I'm here with my grandkids.
Oh, I actually can't hear them. It's got Zoom does
No, because I've been on mute. I've been on mute the whole time.
Oh, but I was gonna say it sounds good now. I just hear you.
Oh, they ain't running saying that right now. But
Oh,
I
okay.
wanted, I mean, you mentioned about different products that can be done by us, something that we're familiar with. But you said that you have to have so many. I know you said in food way, like you had to have like 4 samples.
Oh, I see what you're saying. For the application, yes, there's work samples, and there's 5 different work samples where essentially we just want to see examples. We're not asking you to make new things for this application. We just want to see samples of your past work. So in your case, if you were applying to do a food waste project, you would just show pictures. I know Miss Katie, for folks watching the call, she's worked with another organization that I run. So Miss Katie, you could just show photographs of 5 food waste dishes you've created and say, this is my mini sweet potato pie, and I got this recipe from my mom, who was a cook at the Harding Hotel, and tell that story. But the work samples really are just almost like photos of your work. Like this artist in the picture, Tim Gorenflo, is an artist who works in painting and in pastels. So he just included like 5 images, photographs taken of different pastel drawings he had made. Does that make sense? It just gives the selection committee a chance to see what your work is like. So they would be I'm trying to think for someone like Z Wolf, who's a musician, right? He sent like 5 links to different songs that he's produced as a musician. So it's just way.
Okay, so you're saying they just need photos.
Yep, you don't have to give us. We would love to eat your food, but no, our selection committee is on Zoom. We have between 7 and 8 people who are all in different places around the region. So yeah, part of the application, I'll show you in the walkthrough. You upload photos of your work. Yep, and that's why we
Okay, say like if I want to show crocheting, I just show
Yep,
photos of some things that
yep,
I've made. Oh,
exactly.
I gotcha, I gotcha.
Yep. And the work
Okay.
samples, I think we need to learn to word it in a different way, because every year our applicants, some of them get thrown off by that. Like, what is work samples? What does that mean? So yeah, it really is just samples of your artwork so we can get to know you as an artist. And some of the people on the community selection committee, like myself, I'm an arts organizer. I work in the arts, but we also have representatives who come from the sort of nature center environment, conservation world. We have some folks who are connected with Terradise and are board members, but we also have general community members. So it's a really wide ranging selection committee. And nobody by design, right? It's a small community in North Central Ohio. We'll know some of the applicants, but we want to have a wide enough selection committee so that nobody knows everyone, because that wouldn't be a fair process, right? So we want to make sure that you guys as artists are putting your best foot forward and showing samples of your work and describing it. Because someone on the committee may know your work and may know you're an amazing artist, but if it's not in the application, the other 6 or 7 people on the committee who don't know you they're not going to be able to see that. Does that make sense? So we really want the application to be the complete representation of your work. But that's a great question.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah. Hmm.
Do you have other questions or other things you want to look through? And then otherwise we can just look at the application itself.
That's about it. Just a better, you gave me a better understanding of what they might be looking for. Yeah.
Perfect. The other thing I'll say that might be helpful to you and to other people on the call is that idea that your project that you propose for the Terradise residency should have something to do with Terradise or its history or the property. So some examples I'll give, right? This artist, Jacob, he created bird feeders that were like custom sculptures and installed them at the Terradise property, and they're still there. They were a gift to the nature center, but he was a sculptor and really interested in making products that would engage with the birds and the wildlife at Terradise. So that's an example of how he would create something that was kind of inspired by the landscape. So during his trips to Terradise, he spotted locations, actually like took some pieces of slate or rock he found in the river. Similarly, Z Wolf is an electronic musician, so he recorded sounds from around Terradise Nature Center and then did a performance that was remixing the sounds back into his feedback system and then composing with it with synthesizer, which was really beautiful. It's kind of easy to see in these examples are painters, right? Ann Quilter created paintings inspired by the spring landscape, the crocuses outside. Brittany Page Hall created topographic paintings that sort of show the changes in the river. Um, Stephanie Spears, our herbalist, was actually collecting plants from the property. And Fiora had everyone gather materials and then she glued them into her work. So there's lots of ways that your project can relate to the landscape. We also have artists that kind of interpret our archives. So both of these two artists did. I mentioned that Ray and Trella Romine, who lived at Terradise before the Nature Center was founded, they were artists and poets. So one of the artists worked with a lot of Ray Romine's poetry and interpreted that. This artist worked with P. Brown, worked with butterflies that Ray Romine had collected and created those. So for you, Miss Katie, like if you wanted to work in crochet, you might, for example, this is just a random example. I'm you have to pick a project you want to do, but an example I could see is you would learn about some of the wildflowers or the trees at Terradise and maybe crochet 5 different leaves representing the leaves of different trees along the river. Like that's a kind of example of a way that you could make a marriage of your art form and the nature center. Is that helpful kind of in terms of
Yeah, I was going to come back and ask you. Did it has to be something particular about the nature of things out there in the?
Yeah, well, and it could use materials from our property, like in the way that Fiora actually and Stephanie like actually used leaves in their work, or
Uh-huh.
it could be inspired by it. So if you wanted to think about your relationship to nature, trees, forests, rivers, I know for some people, they've done memoirs thinking about their parents, their grandparents, and where they come from, and the landscapes they came from, and the rivers they may have
Mm-hmm.
known, and doing writing, things like that. So it can be like more personal and about your family's environments and history. So there's a lot of ways you can do it, but it should have some connection. Like I know
Okay.
if you said, I want to come to Terradise and then I want to make a comic book about baseball cards. We would kind of be like,
Uh-huh.
well, that's awesome, but what's the connection, right? So I think some of it is like making the clear connection. Like you could,
Uh-huh.
example, I'm just giving examples based on knowing you, but as someone who is an African American artist and a foodways artist who learned food traditions from your mother, you might, for example, dig into African American food traditions that are tied to foraging or plants and leaves and traditions that might have been brought to America from Africa and might do something related to that. And so it's not immediately related to the specific plants at Terradise in that case,
Uh-huh.
but it's
Uh-huh.
related to this idea of how nature influences our culture. Does that make sense? Like some sort of
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
connection. And
Makes a lot of sense.
we just want our application in the application, the more our artists can make that connection clear to the committee, usually the higher score they have. I tell people it's like it's school where it's like answer these 4 things in the essay question. If you do, you get a 100. It's kind of like that. Like the things we ask you
Mm-hmm.
guys to answer really are the things we need to know. And the more you make that super explicit and clear, the easier it is for us to see that connection. And those are the applications that tend to do the best. So um, if you don't have other questions in this section, I can just walk you through the application. But is there anything else right now? And thank you for being on the call live and asking these questions, because everyone who's watching later, they'll be having these same questions you have, and it's going to be
Mm-hmm.
really helpful for them to learn from our conversation. So
So
thanks.
it basically has to deal with nature. Am I
What
right?
we say is what we say is we want you to create artwork and propose a project inspired by Terradise.
Paradigms.
That could be our property. Like we
Uh-huh.
want you to come and visit the property 3 times. So it could just be you feeling relaxed and encountering our property. It could be, oh my gosh, I encountered this one type of tree and I felt a connection to it. Now I'm going to do something inspired by that. It could be
Uh-huh.
inspired by Terradice's history. Like for some of our artists, they might dig into the history, our exhibit online, the history of Trella and Ray Romine. They might find out, wow, Trella ran Hemmerly's flowers. And maybe they'll do something around flowers tied to that history. Or it could
Uh-huh.
be nature or rivers in general. You might be like, wow, tell me where your ancestors are from before your mom. I'm forgetting, even though I know I've interviewed you so many times.
Georgia.
Georgia. So you
Mm-hmm.
might say, pick a river in Georgia that's where your family roots are from, and think about what that river has meant, good or bad in your family's history. There's a lot of ways you could do it. But we
Mm-hmm.
want there to be some sort of connection. That's why it's called the Terradise Environmental Arts Residency. We want there to be
Okay.
some connection to environment. That can be plants, that can be place, that can be you just being in. You could just come to Terradise and sit and do crochet at Terradise and kind of be inspired and see what comes to you. There's a lot of different
Mm-hmm.
ways you could do it, but we encourage artists to just kind of pick an idea and kind of make sure it's well developed, but there's no right or wrong answer. But there's
Okay.
a lot of possibility. I know for some people that's frustrating, but lots of
Mm-hmm.
options. What else can I answer for you before we look at the application? These
That's
are great.
that's about it. Just getting the knowledge and the know of what they really asking for.
Totally,
I
totally. And
really didn't have the full understanding until right now talking
well,
to you.
and
Yeah.
that's why we're doing the first year we didn't do these information sessions, and we realized, wow, a lot of the people we're getting are people who have already done this before and they know what they're doing and they know
Mm-hmm.
that they've applied to an artist residency. And we said we want to reach artists who haven't had this opportunity before and for whom this
Mm-hmm.
is a new process. So that's why having these information sessions, these office hours that I'm offering, and being able to work one-on-one with our artists. I had a couple of artists last year who I worked with them every step of the way. They did the draft. I went through it. I gave them advice. I helped them say, hey, why don't you change your questions, or you missed this response. So it's
Mm-hmm.
the sort of thing like before the exam starts, the teacher can help you as much as I'm not the teacher in this case.
Right.
But I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's really first come, first serve. And we really ask people, if you really want to do this, like don't be shy. Part of what we've written into the grant is my time being able to help artists know what the questions are asking and what the committee is looking for. So we're happy to.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
if you're okay with it, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to exit out of our presentation and I'm going to pull up our website and walk you through it now. And this will be for everyone else on the call as well. So our website for Terradise Nature Center, can you see that okay, Miss Katie? Is that showing up?
Yeah, I could see it very well. I had it back on mute.
Oh, no worries. So our website is terradise.org. It's kind of spelled like Terra, like Earth, dice, like paradise. I know it's a funny word. Ray Romine made it up, being a poet. Um, and how you find out about our residency is you go to the top and you go to programs, and it is 2 down. Programs, Terradise Environmental Arts Residency 2024. So you'll click there. And my internet is slow, but once you do, you'll see a picture of Trella and the birthday cake and Ray. So once you see the birthday cake, you know you're in the right place. And we make you read through all this information first to get to the actual application, but that's because we want you to learn about what the program is and make sure you understand the spirit of things. So here's information about it. It's all the same stuff we said in this call. We're open to artists from all genres. We're open to Marion, Morrow, Wyandotte, and Crawford counties, etc. Um, the things we require: a biography, a portfolio of some work samples, the purpose of your residency and a vision, etc. We offer Zoom sessions. This main website is available if you type in terradise.org/arts residency, arts-residency. And once, excuse me, I ate dinner before this and did not drink enough water. Once we get done with these information sessions, I will put them on YouTube and there will be links to them. Right now, the links are to the ones from last year, but the only thing that's really changed this year is that we're open to artists from Wyandotte and Crawford County as well. You'll be able to download our flyer. So if you click that, it opens up the flyer about the residency. So that gives you our website and our information if you need that. I guess if you're on the website, you already have that. Um, and then I will upload the slides I shared today. If you click right now, it brings up the ones from last year. And those are still, it's some of them are the same as what I shared, but there's a few things that are different. But we just wanted to have that for now before we started these sessions, so you have them. And then there's more details about the program. And here's kind of what we talked about, Miss Katie, right? As a Terradise environmental artist in residency, your task will be to visit Terradise, explore the property, and are part of the Whetstone. It should say river. It says Revere. I don't know why. I must have been tired. Explore Terradise's history and our mission and our landscape. Produce original artwork in any genre. And here's what we talked about, right? Inspired by Terradise Nature Center, our property, our mission, our history. You could be inspired by the lives or archive or artwork of Trella and Ray Romine, or our stretch of the Olentangy. And like I said, if you have a proposal to be inspired by some other natural landscape, but connect it to your visits here, we're also open with that. And it says your work can make direct use of Terradise. Like you can take a picture of it or use leaves or materials in what you make. You could look at the leaf of a plant and crochet that. You could make a film or a recording based on it, or like the bird feeders, make an installation, or you can just be inspired by this land and our mission and create artwork. So we're pretty flexible. And at the end of every month, there is that 2-hour public program. And so you will do an hour-long program. The other artists will do an hour-long. We may have 3 artists each month. We're still figuring out timing for our emerging artists and our alumni artists who were residents last year. So if it's 3, we may have to make things 2.5 hours or something. But that's what it looks like. And then here's the information later on the website about these info sessions. This is the one that's tonight. And then there's another one December 17th. It'll be the same information as this, but sometimes people like to come to both of them. So if you want to come back on December 17th, if someone's listening to this as a recording and you want to ask a question live, you can come back on December 17th. And sometimes it's helpful just because other people are in the room from session to session and they might have a different question. Maybe that answers something for you. And then in January, these are the dates I'm doing those office hours. Tuesday the 9th from 5 to 8. And Sunday the 14th from 12 to 4. And I will just be sitting on Zoom waiting for someone to come and ask questions. I love getting to workshop applications with everyone. It's one of my favorite things. I love helping artists craft this sort of statement and application. So I'm very friendly and happy to help with any of that. And you can also schedule one-on-one hours if you don't want to wait until January. I'm a little bit hectic right now until December 8th or so, but should have some time before the holidays. Would be a great time if anyone wants to reach out. So at the very bottom, if you scroll through all the information about Terradise, about all of that, and the residency, you'll get to a little button that says apply now. I know that's annoying, but we put it at the bottom on purpose so you would read all the stuff above it first. And if you click that, that takes you to the application itself. You can also get there if you type terradise.org/TEAR, Terradise Environmental Arts Residency -2024-application. And when you get to a picture like this of the trees in the winter over the river, that's the actual application. And it has these little buttons at the top, and they're all sorts of different sections. They're all sort of different sections. Some of them is kind of the same stuff you'll already know from the first page in this presentation, right? About Terradise, and you can click next, or you can just click to the next section up here, right? If you click next, it takes us to the handshake one about the residency. And so then there's some information about the residency. Again, it's similar stuff to what's on the other webpage. You don't have to read it all if you don't want to. Application help. This is like your phone a friend from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? This is about these information sessions and the office hours and booking hours with me. And our video recordings and our slides will be posted there as well. We're a little bit repetitive. We're posting things in multiple places because we want people to know where that is. Now, something special that is only on this website, if you click FAQ, that stands for frequently asked questions. And there's a lot of different questions people have asked over the past 2 years, and we put them there with our answers. So it's always worth, if you have a question, looking at this and seeing what we said. I'm a collective or a band or a duo. Can multiple people apply? I'm not great or comfortable with writing. Can I record an audio or video for my recordings? I don't speak English. How can I learn more about the residency? We actually have the answer to that in Spanish. I just don't speak Spanish, so I'm not going to try to speak Spanish. It says I don't. But our application can be translated into any language. But there's lots of questions here that kind of talks you through all of the different possibilities. One thing I do want to share, it's not up yet. I was supposed to put it up before this call and I just forgot actually. But if you go here to where it has the arrow pointing down, that's a download sign. And the files, the section is called PDFs, and we have a PDF available of the application questions. It's not the actual application that's, actually right here, but it shows you what the questions are. Last year we did it a little different. Last year we had a packet of questions and then a mail-in application. This year we just have one thing. Let me see if I can find it. I'll share that as well, because that is what I would recommend that everyone download and use to prepare your questions. So I'm going to stop sharing that screen and share the application really quick, and I will put that on the website later this week. So can you see that, Miss Katie? With the bird? So this is
Yes.
not the actual application, right? This is only for someone who doesn't have computer and internet. They can do it this way. But I recommend that everyone download this. It's 28 pages because it's all the information on the website. And if you already know about it, you can skip through it. But what it has is it tells you all the application. It has the frequently asked questions. And starting here at the second bird on page 12, this is the actual application. It's not the actual application, but it's the questions. So you can look at it and know what to answer. Some people prefer to fill it out by hand and then go type it into the website. It's up to you. But we'll ask you, your names, what county you live in, when you're available, stuff about your identity and demographics, which is optional if you want to give us that information. And then about your work. So what genres you work in, and you can click as many as you want. If it doesn't cover you, you can write it in. If crochet is not on that list, you can write it in, you can describe it. And then the main questions, right? Artist statement. We want you to write no more than 250 words, telling us what you make and why, maybe what's influenced you, your goals as an artist, who your work is for, what you feel like your learning curve is, like what's the new thing you're trying to learn. Maybe you're trying to learn a new, more complicated type of crochet or make something you haven't made before. I'm just using that as an example since you're on the call. And you can either type this or you can record. We said no more than 2 minutes, but it could be up to 2 or 3. We just have to get through we get like 20 to 30 applications. So it could take some time if it was too long, but you could record this as a video or audio. You could even do a drawing or a comic, right? And I'll go through this more in the actual application. This is just what I recommend you guys download. And I should have that up within the week. Then you're going to say your vision for the residency, right? And this is the one, it's 500 words or about 5 minutes of audio, I would say. And we want you to share what project you want to make. We said, what new original artwork will you create as a result of this residency? How will it fit with your larger goals as an artist? How will the new work you create engage the property, history, mission, or legacy of our nature center? In what way does your work support our mission? Describe your vision for the 1-hour final event you will have. And so you don't have to answer all of these, but definitely tell us what your project is and what the 1-hour event is, because when people don't do that in their applications, they don't score very well because we just don't know what you're planning on doing, right? And then the purpose, I said, is the why, right? So the purpose says, Why do you want to be an artist in residence? What has called you to do the work? And why is this residency right for you right now? So some of the questions you can answer now are, what are your connection to the environment or the natural world? Maybe you have a great connection to the natural world. Maybe you've never had the chance to go explore a nature preserve, and that's exciting to you. Do you have any connection to the woods or prairies? It says Marion and Morrow County. It's supposed to say Marion, Morrow, Wyandotte, and Crawford. I need to update that. What's something you want to learn about Terradise? Or how will this residency matter for your personal arts practice? What do you want to get out of it for your career or give back? Why do you want to do this, right? Then the biography, that's really just like where you grew up, what your connection is to Marion or Morrow. I thought I corrected this and put Wyandotte and Crawford every place, but I guess I forgot. I'll have to update that. How did you get into your particular arts traditions and any other highlights about your career? And then you can describe your supplies and then work samples. This all happens on the actual application, but this is just something you can download to get prepared, so you know kind of what you need to provide. And then if someone needs to send in an application by mail, they can. But I don't want to confuse people. That's not the actual application, right? That's like, how do I put it? It's like your reference copy. Does that make sense, Miss Katie? It's like you look at that so you know what all the questions are, but then when you want to apply, you actually click here on application. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
But then you
Yes.
do the questions. So we'll run through this. Let's pick someone we want to be. At my last presentation, I was John Lennon or Paul McCartney. I'm kind of sick of being a Beatle. Who do we want to be? Let's pick someone famous and we can fill it out as if we're them.
Oprah Winfrey.
Okay, great. I don't know her middle name. Does she have a middle
Oh, I don't know.
name? Okay, we'll just do Oprah Winfrey. Okay, is she collaborating with anyone? She's working alone, right?
I think she works alone.
She's working alone. Okay, so she's going to skip all that stuff. So this is the actual application you would fill out, right? If it's Miss Katie or someone on the call, you'd write Miss Katie, last name, etc. Okay, we're going to make up an email for Oprah. Oprah at, she probably has her own network. Oprah at oprah.com. I don't know what her phone number is. We'll give her a Cleveland phone number. That's fine. I don't know what her address is. 555 Oprah Place.
Uh-huh.
Where does she live? She live in Chicago?
Actually, I don't know. I don't know if it's in Chicago, Illinois, or where. I don't know where she
I'll say
lives.
Los Angeles because she's pretty fancy. I don't know what the area code is. We'll make something up. That's too many. Okay. Don't do that. So I tell people, I said, this is kind of fun. It's where I got to just do goofy things in the application. Uh-oh. So Oprah's got to have some sort of connection to Marion, Morrow, Wyandotte, or Crawford. What do we want to say? Where's she got a connection?
Crawford.
Crawford? Okay. Does she have like an aunt who's from Bucyrus or something?
I don't know.
My aunt lives in Bucyrus, and I lived there until I was 12.
What?
Who knew?
The remote? Here. There. You know what you're doing? Okay. All right. Okay.
So that's the first page, right? There's like 6 sections. Who are you? Availability, where you talk about what months you're available. More about you. You as an artist. What that's like your artist statement and stuff. Your work for Terradise. That's like your proposal of what you want to do. And then your work is actually your work samples. So we're already done with page 1. We'll say next. And here's this button where it says save and continue later, right? Want to do that, you click this. And what it's going to do, it gives you this link. And you're going to like save that somewhere real special, like put it in a notes file, or you can put in your email address, you know, and it'll email it to you. But problem is if you save it and then you lose that, you're sort of in trouble. But I'm going to click this. And I think what it should do is take me back to my already filled out Oprah application. See how it saved that?
Okay.
Still in there. So I'm going to go to next. And now I'm going to be in section 2. So section 2 is availability. And that's really simple, right? We have this residency in March, April, May, June, and you just tell them you're available. Okay, when do we want Oprah to be available? Any of them, all of them, or only certain months?
Flexible.
She's flexible, okay. And a ranked list. Let's give her a ranked list. Really helps us because not only are we picking our artists, but then after that we have to schedule them. So not everyone gets their first choice, but we try. So what's Oprah's first choice? Does she like April, May, June?
Say what?
What's Oprah's first choice of month?
First choice of what?
of which month she wants to do. Do we want to have her do which month? This is where you
April. April.
April, and then how about June, May, and nobody likes March because it's cold.
Oh, so that's what you do. You write that in there.
You because that way, like if we pick Oprah, we have to decide, okay, we can only have 2 artists for April. We already have George who wants April. Okay,
Uh-huh.
so maybe we're going to put Oprah in April because they both really want that. But maybe there's someone else who's not flexible and they can only do June and May. And
Okay.
it's good for them to tell us June is my first choice because I work in the schools, and May is my second choice, and I'm still teaching then, so it's harder, right? So you can
So
like
how
that.
many so you got to select more than 1 month?
You can select, you only get
Yeah.
picked for 1 month, but we want you
Uh-huh.
to tell us
Oh,
any.
you just give what's okay, I got you
So
now.
like, so if you were available for all of them flexibly, that's fine, right? But if you only
Mhm.
are available, like our events are in the last week of the month usually. So if you're going to a wedding or going on a honeymoon or have a big trip planned the second half of May and you won't be back
Mhm.
from May 15th to June 8th, you probably won't pick May, and then you pick the other ones, right?
Okay.
And then you would tell us, I would prefer June, then I would prefer March, then I
Okay.
would prefer April. And you could just say,
Gotcha.
I get cold easily and I would prefer a summer month, right?
All
So
right.
whatever you want, you just tell us what works. And then there's
Okay.
it's here to give us your top choice. And for that one, you just pick one. Oh, it lets us pick two. I did that wrong.
Mhm.
It's supposed to be just the button, but you'll pick your top choice. Does that make sense? This one's
Yes.
real simple. It's just like your availability. It just helps us in scheduling after we pick our
Mhm.
artists. This whole page is optional, but it helps us get information and kind of understand who you are if you want. So if you want, you can pick gender. I think Oprah just female, right? That's how she identifies.
Right, right.
And
Uh-huh.
then race and ethnicity. Oprah is African American, correct?
Mhm.
Is
Mhm.
she also any other ethnicities?
No.
No. Okay. And her age, how old is Oprah?
Let's say she's 67.
67. Wow. Oh, you know.
I don't know. I'm just guessing. I know she older than me. I'm
That's
61.
that's specific. Oh, I lost. Where'd our application go? There we go. Now I gotta know. We'll put that in the file. Oprah, how old? 69. You're
Oh
really
wow.
we'll,
Man.
we'll keep it at 67. That's maybe she says she's 67.
Uh-huh.
So she might pick an age category, an elder artist, a youth artist. I don't think Oprah would
Mhm.
identify as an elder. Do you?
No.
No.
Uh-uh.
And then if she wants, you could list any other identities or categories. That might be like if someone is an immigrant, or if someone is someone who was adopted or has a disability and they want to tell us about that. Down here, it's
Uh-huh.
accommodations. That is for if you have any disability needs or accessibility needs, like if someone is deaf or blind or um, has a connective tissue disorder. I have a connective tissue disorder and sometimes, have trouble with my knees, things like that.
Uh-huh.
Anything we can help with. Our property is a little bit steep. There's a hill down from the parking lot. We are
Uh-huh.
increasingly building boardwalks and trail systems. But if there's anything you especially need, that would help, we've had some artists in the past who have had mobility, disabilities, things like that. Just let us know. Or if someone mostly speaks a different language, they can tell us that there. But any questions on this page? This is the more about you page.
Okay. I
And
ain't bad.
you're halfway there. The other three are the ones where the core of the work is, but that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and give me 1 second here. I just gotta mute and say something.
Who am I? What's my name? I'm Graham. Dinosaur.
Sorry,
Okay.
dinosaur. He called you dinosaur.
No, he talk about something. I don't know what he talking about.
That's funny. How old?
He 3. He'll be 4 on the 5th.
Oh my goodness, that's exciting. So, you as an artist, this is where you talk about you as an artist. So you'll pick the genres you work in from
Mm-hmm.
this list, as many as you want. Then you can list any other ones that aren't included. And then this is where you give your artist statement. So,
Push
and
that.
let's go through for
That.
Oprah.
Push that.
So Oprah's
Mm-hmm.
genres, Oprah does memoir and creative writing, right? She definitely writes
Mm-hmm.
books. And then
Right.
um music, cosmetology. So for you, Miss Katie, like you could say cosmetology and hair, you could say sewing,
Mm-hmm.
personal style. I don't know if I put fiber arts and crochet. I thought I did, but maybe I didn't. If I didn't, oh, fiber, fabric, textile arts, weaving, knitting, crochet. See, I got,
Uh-huh.
um,
Okay.
but if there's something not, you can write in. And so like for Oprah, I would say like,
Yeah. You
um,
got pointed at the TV though. Point it at the TV and push that.
so I might say for Oprah, I might say talk show hosting, right? Because that's
Uh-huh.
else that she does. The artist statement is where you provide, it says no more than 250 words, briefly and clearly address what do you make and why, who or what has most influenced your art practice, what are your goals or the intervention? Like, what does your artwork do? Is it to change things, to make people happy, to provide for your family and friends, etc.? What do you want to change in the world? Who is your artwork for? And what is
All that you got to answer those questions.
not all of it, just kind of some of it, like most of the things, right? They're just kind of suggestions, but there's two ways you can do it, right? You can type here, I am Oprah and I am an award winning, amazing talk show host and memoirist who founded Oprah's book club. You can write it, or this is where you can drop the file, right?
Uh-huh.
So if you go on your phone and record a voice memo and you say, I'm recording right now, right? You say, I am Miss Katie and I have been a crochet artist and a food artist for this many years and I do this and that. And, you record it all. Then
Uh-huh.
you take this and just send it to your computer or upload it right here. You'll say select files, and then you'll just go and add those files, if that makes sense. And we
Yeah.
accept images, PDFs, movies, all of that. And so we did that new last year because we thought a lot of people either they don't like writing or they just express themselves more freely
Mm-hmm.
when they talk in a video or voice. And it also
Gotcha.
helps us know you better if we hear your voice or see a video. And like I said, only one person of about 25 did it last year, but it was really nice. And they were one of our top scores. We didn't give them a high
Well,
score.
okay.
We didn't give them a high score just because they did the media, but I think it can't help but help us get to know you better if you do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
But you can do
Mm-hmm.
both. I think the artist last year, she actually wrote some and then recorded some. So, but that's the whole fourth page. You as an artist, you tell us what genre.
And basically, you just don't talk about what you're going to do. The one thing you just talk about what you have done and what you're,
Yep. So this
Okay.
exactly right. This first one, the artist statement is kind of like your life story as an artist, but really short, right?
Okay.
So you would talk
All
about
right.
your history in crochet, hair arts, foodways, being a teaching artist at St. Mary and Garfield and Washington and
Mm-hmm.
all of
Mm-hmm.
that stuff. The work you've done
Okay.
in the community and through the church, all of that. And then you'll go to the
Mm-hmm.
next one. And the next one is really where you start getting into what you want to do. Your work for Terradise, section 5.
Okay.
Those are the two
Uh-huh.
we talked about. The residency vision and residency purpose. And a lot of people are like, how are they different? And remember, I say vision is the what and purpose is the why. So the vision
Okay.
says, and I added a new title this year so it was really clear, even if you don't read all the other stuff, right? What is your residency project and how does it relate to our mission? And what's your final event idea? Answer
Mm-hmm.
those three things and you'll be golden. We have new
Okay.
questions here and some guidance, but basically, if you tell us what do you want to do during your month and what are you going to do in that final event, and how is it tied to what we do here at Terradise, that's
Uh-huh.
perfect. And again, you can type it in here. I'm Oprah and I want to write a new memoir about the role of rivers in African American history. I don't know. I'm just making
Uh-huh.
seems like she maybe would be interested in something like that. I don't know. She likes books and history and culture. Um, then you could also, like I said, or instead upload the audio file, right? You
Okay.
could record a
Mm-hmm.
video of yourself and just say, hey, I'm gonna see if I can get mine to do it, right? You could just like record a video of yourself and be like, oh, that's kind of cool. I'm doing it on the call. You would be like, Jeff, I'm this kind of an artist and uh
Uh-huh.
all of that. So that's what that would look like. And then purpose says, why do you want to do this residency?
Uh-huh.
what's your relationship with nature and the environment like? And we're not going to punish someone if they don't have a relationship. Some artists have not gotten to have a relationship with nature, and this might be their first chance to go walk in the woods or along the river and explore.
Uh-huh.
And
Mm-hmm.
how will the residency help you grow? So the first one, the vision, really is what you're going to do. Tell us specifically. And the purpose is really like, why do you want to do this? And it could just be like, again, you could say, I've never really had the opportunity to push myself or do a particular project. I'm always making work for people, and this is a chance to make it for me. And I've never
Mm-hmm.
gotten to go to parks or a lot of natural spaces, and I would like that time for myself to relax and commune with nature, and I find that spiritually to be really healing. It could be something as simple as that, right? Does that make sense?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So, yep, this
Mm-hmm.
is the vision and the purpose, and we are already at section 5 out of 6. So it's fairly straightforward, but I know it's kind of a new format for many people. And again, you can record it this way. And the last thing on the
Mm-hmm.
page should be pretty simple, are 2 things. A biography, we want like 150 to 500 words. That's just a biography of you. It's different than your
Uh-huh.
artist statement, because your artist statement is sort of like the biography of your arts practice, right? Like the biography of your work as an artist, whereas this is kind of your life. So you might tell a
Uh-huh.
little bit about you, what you did, your career. For some people, it's going to be the same. For other people, they
Uh-huh.
might have worked in a Honda factory their whole life in Marysville, but on the side, they're a poet. You know what I'm saying? So it kind of depends on who you are. But some of the ideas
Uh-huh.
said here is where you grew up, your connection to one of these counties, how you got into your particular traditions, and any highlights from your family, career, or your artistic journey. And this is what
Oh.
we'll use to advertise you in the newspaper. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
a
Mm-hmm.
biography. Um, this one I did not give an option for you to record a video because we need it in writing so we can put it in the newsletter. Um, and then the final thing, we have, I think, up to $100 per artist for artist supplies. We'll reimburse you at the end if you have a receipt. So we just want to kind
Mm-hmm.
of get an idea. We won't make decisions based on this, but we want to get an idea of what every artist thinks they'll be using or needing. So you might just list some supplies you think you might need. And that'll just, like I said, help us plan. If you're like, oh, I'll need this amount of crochet cord, that sort of thing. Does that
Y'all
make
clean up. Y'all get ready to take a bath, okay? Clean up. Put the toys away.
We're
I'm
almost
sorry.
done. No, it's okay. We're over time anyway, but this is, I think this will be helpful. And I'm really glad
Mm-hmm.
you're on live to help ask these questions, because anyone who's,
Well, I'm quite interested. I just needed
oh
to get a
yeah,
better understanding.
no, I'm so glad you came. Absolutely. And then we'll click next. And this next
Uh-huh.
section, oh, it wouldn't, I didn't see it was required and I didn't answer it. So it wouldn't let me go. So I have to answer that one and this one. So sorry, Oprah's not answering it fully right now. But this last one is called Your Work. And if you have a website, you can type that there, but that's not enough. And it's okay if you don't have a website. But this is
Mm-hmm.
where it says sample work. Please provide 5 samples of recent artwork as a combination of links or uploads. They can be photos, video, or sound clips, scans, copies of poems, etc. We can accept any 5 items. So you could select files here. So if you have something on your desktop or your computer, right, you can just add those files as long as they are any of these types: JPEG, GIF, PNG, PDF, and these are like movie and video files. If you have an
Okay.
iPhone, it'll take a picture in a format called HEIC. We cannot accept that, because if someone does not have an iPhone,
Mine got no iPhone.
well, so that it's not a problem then. But we got a lot of people our first year who submitted these files called HEIC, and most of our selection committee couldn't see them. So, and it says it here: no HEIC and no Microsoft Word file. So for you,
Well, the thing, I don't even know how to do none of them.
well, what you would do is just whatever photos you have on your iPad or tablet or phone of your work, you would just drag those files into here. So you just,
Mm-hmm.
and I could do a call with you and show you how to do that, but you just drag them from your file system, or like you come here and then you would pick something and it would then connect, right? So that's what that would look like. So you just drag the files here. And then what we want you to do is describe your work. So if you put 5 files, you would say, um, I know you've done a crochet of Elmo, right?
Yes.
Crochet of
Um,
Elmo I made for my granddaughter.
nephew.
nephew,
Great nephew at that.
a great nephew.
Yeah.
Uh, or you might say selection of crocheted hats and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
scarves, crocheted. So you would just describe each of them and make sure the photos are labeled clearly. So it might be like crochet number 1, crochet number 2, because otherwise I won't know, you know what I'm saying? We don't want to have to guess which description goes with which. So I would number them and number these accordingly, and I can help you.
Now that would be only if I were going to do that. Am I right? Crochet.
It depends, but yes, ideally your work samples would support the genre of art you want to do your residency in.
Right.
Some
Right.
people want to work in multiple genres. So if you're like, I want to do a little bit of food and a little bit of crochet, you could do that as well. And some people want to try a new genre. So if you're like, I'm a crochet artist and a food artist, but I want to write some poems, or I want to write a memory, like a memoir.
Uh-huh.
I want to write about my mom and her being a cook at the Harding Hotel and her life story. We've had people do memoirs of their parents,
Uh-huh.
that.
Mm-hmm.
We've had some writers in the past. You could just say, I haven't done a lot of writing, but here's some of my other work, and here's why I
Mm-hmm.
want to try out writing or poetry. So if the samples are totally random, it can sometimes hurt you, but they don't. I should say it's usually stronger if your work samples make a case for what you want to do, but we also want to encourage you guys as artists to try new things. So don't let that limit you. If you're like, well, I don't have any work samples in watercolor, but I want to make some watercolor paintings,
Uh-huh.
that's okay too. But so it's kind of on a case by case basis. But most people will do it this way and drag the files in and describe them. Some people have work
Mm-hmm.
online. So if you are an artist who has work that's on the internet, like I mentioned that musician Z Wolf, and he's a very prolific musician and had a lot of his albums on YouTube or on SoundCloud. So he just gave a title to it, my album. um, this is my electronic pop album I made in 2021. And then he would just put a link to that right here, www.soundcloud.com/whatever, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, and then you press plus and you can add more. So some people
Mm-hmm.
will choose to link their artwork. You can't do both. You can't do 5 here and 5 here. We just asked for 5 total. But
Uh-huh.
that is what you do and how you upload your work. And then
Okay.
you collect this thing to say, I'm not a robot. And you have to, probably tell it where the bicycles are. And then
Right.
like submit and your application
Mm-hmm.
is in. So that's basically, you get through those 6 sections, and that is
Okay. Gotcha.
application. But that's what I've got for you guys for tonight. I'm happy to stay. I've got another call coming up in a second here, but I can stay for like 5 minutes if you have any other questions. And otherwise, we've got another one of these sessions in December, and then I'm available if you want to book some time to talk about your ideas. If you want to put some things together and download that packet of questions, or I can send it to you. We could always meet up or Zoom or do a phone call, and you can say, here's what I'm thinking. What do you think, Jess? That's kind of what I
Uh-huh.
process. But yeah, any questions right now I can help with?
No, that's about, yeah, that's about it.
I get your ideas
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I was trying to put together my cards for, my product projects I was
Uh-huh.
doing at school. I can't find my paper that I filled out with all the information, what I went over with you. Now I don't know where that paper is, so I just gotta like jot down or trying
Like
to get it
like
together.
all of your lessons?
Yeah, I know what they are, but
Mhm.
I had it all on paper
Oh
when
no.
I went over it with you. Now I don't know what happened to it. I don't know what I did.
I can send you my notes if that's
I mean,
helpful.
I got some of them. I mean, I got the pictures. All I got to basically look at the pictures, but I already had that, the
That's frustrating
material.
though when
So
you have a plan. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I
Well,
don't know.
and I think this is really good since we're still recording this. What I would say too, like for those watching this later, Miss Katie is a teaching artist who also works with a lot of students. You could, Miss Katie, for example, say, I work with kids, I'm a teaching artist, and your final event could be for kids. And then you could
Hmm.
have you could say, you could submit as a part of that, like a lesson for different activities you've done. And maybe what you want to focus on is coming up with lessons for your work as a
Hmm.
teaching artist in the school that are tied to nature observation, things like that. So
Oh.
there's ways you could tie it to being a teaching artist too. So I think
Hmm.
I like that you brought that up because I think we have had a few people in the past who have done workshops for kids, but
Mm-hmm.
not a lot, and that's really neat because then we can advertise that special, like, "Hey, this is a program that's for kids," as an opportunity, but just something to keep in mind, but, I'm
Okay.
gonna end the recording if you're okay with it, and then if you have any other more, questions we can discuss offline. For everyone watching, thanks for making it through. Our next session is Saturday, December 17th. Forget when I said it was. I think it's in the afternoon. But we'll be going through all the same information and answering your questions. The application is live, so you can start at any time. And
Mm-hmm.
I am available depending on my schedule and your schedule. We can set
Uh-huh.
to brainstorm and go over things. But I'm going to end this recording. And thanks everyone for watching. We hope to see you
Right.
live.